Hello guys and welcome to another video. This video is going to be a fairly short one, all about the German rig and specifically 3 tips for improving the German rig to make it 100% more effective. Now this rig's been around for a few years now, well publicised, and there's plenty of videos online of how to tie it, but there's a couple of problems I think with the rig, which is the reason why I've not really used it before. But I've found 3 ways to improve it which make it a lot more effective, and I'm going to be starting to use it a lot more in my fishing. Now we're coming into the autumn, which is a really good time of year to be using wafters as the fish are feeding a bit harder on the bottom. So stay tuned, we're going to go through the different aspects of the rig and how you can improve it, and I'm also going to show you quickly how to tie it up. So here's the German rig in the sort of form that most people know it. All the videos that I've watched online of how to tie it more or less do it in the same way as this. So you've got a strippable coated braid there, sort of semi-stiff. You can use a supple one if you want, like a soft coated braid, but you always need to use a coated braid. You've got a big lump of putty quite close to the hook, about 1 centimetre away. You've got a curved shanked hook and a hook ring swivel on the shank with a shank stop and then a wafter of some sort, and essentially that is the rig. And it's very easy to tie. You just tie a knotless knot and you put your hook ring swivel on the shank and put the bead on it, and that's it done more or less. It's probably the quickest rig to tie that there is. But the problem with this rig is, in my opinion anyway, it kind of relies on the fish approaching the bait from this direction to pick it up, because that's where the hook is, and obviously it needs to pick it up there to get it in its mouth. But if the fish comes from any other direction, there's a complete lack of flexibility in that hook link material. So if, say, the fish is coming from this side, you know, your line's going off over here and you've got your lead here somewhere, the fish could quite easily, if you've got your lines down, it could quite easily swim over this way and try and pick up the bait that way. But there's no flexibility, so it's not really going to be able to pick it up off the bottom. It's going to feel the resistance of that sort of semi-stiff material and spit it out pretty quick, I imagine, and the hook's not going to be able to turn and do its job because of the lack of suppleness in the rig. Also, when you pick up the bait, in the way that you see it tied in videos, you pick up the bait and the hook's sort of lifting up the wrong way up. It's kind of picking up off the bottom and it's pointing upwards, and you're never going to hook a carp in the bottom lip like that, or at least, you know, your percentage chance is a lot less. And also with this big blob of putty here, that's actually quite a weight for the carp to pick up. Now I know that blob of putty's there to turn the hook down when it gets in the fish's mouth, but I feel like it's you know, down to a bit of chance really whether you're actually going to hook a fish with the rig in this form. So stay tuned, I'm going to run you through how I tie it to make it, I think, 100% better with 3 simple differences. So first of all guys, I'm just going to run you through the things that you're going to need. So obviously you need a wafter of some sort. I'm quite liking these dark coloured ones at the moment. As you can see there, it doesn't stand out or alarm the fish, it just sort of blends in, and if you're feeding kind of boilie crumb and pellets and that sort of thing, it's just sitting in amongst it waiting to be picked up, and it's not sort of spooking the fish off. I quite like to trim them down sometimes to more of a dumbbell type shape, but you can use it round like that, it's up to you. You need a semi-stiff coated braid, some bait floss to attach your bait to the hook ring swivel, and some putty to put on the rig. Then you need some scissors and a lighter. Now do yourselves a favour guys, get one of these Prof windproof lighters. You can get one on eBay, quite cheap. I think you can get 2 for a £5 or something like that, and they are amazing. You know, you don't have to worry about it being windy, and it's like a little blowtorch out of there rather than being that silly flickering little flame that you get with like a normal lighter. So definitely a good tip there, get a windproof lighter. And next obviously you're going to need a curved shank hook of your choice. I like to use the angling iron ones because they've got a really nice shape. And also finally you're going to need a hook ring swivel and a shank bead just to stop it coming off the hook. Right, the first job then is take your coated braid and peel off approximately 10 inches. Chop that off with your scissors, and then the next job is quite simple. Get your hook. Because we haven't got a hair, you can go in through the front of the eye, so the point side, like that, trap it down with your fingers against the shank and then whip away from the join in the eye 5 or 6 times. I've gone 5 there, and then put your finger against that just to stop it slipping, and then thread that through the back of the eye this time. It's really important that you go through the back of the eye on that last turn. So that is your hook attached, and then you just need to trim off the tag end. Next, you want to get your hook ring swivel and put that under the shank, and using your shank stop bead, you go in the blunt end through the little hole and pull that around. Now, the first mistake that I see with German rigs is the position of the bead on the shank. Most people I see seem to have it kind of opposite the barb there, and like I showed you with the first rig, when the bait's picked up, the hook tends to lift upwards and the point goes up in the air, and really you want it to hang down. So instead of having it there, I move it around so it's more opposite the point. I'll show you at the end why that's important. But moving on from that, we go down to the other end, and you need to decide on the length of your rig. So I like to have them about 7-8 inches or so, and then I'm going to tie a figure of 8 overhand knot. So basically you make a loop like that, pinch the line and make another loop a bit further down like that, and then you twist that loop around, and then the first loop you made goes through that twisted loop, and then you pull that down, and you always wet it and just pull that down, and hopefully you can see there a nice figure of 8 loop knot. So trim off the tag end, and essentially that's the rig done. But next we need to add our putty. Now, on the original rig, the putty is right down near the hook here, but I actually prefer to put it in the middle, and I'll explain why at the end of the video. I'll show you the mechanics and everything, but for now we're just going to put a big blob of putty in the middle. So there you go, you've got your putty in the middle of the rig there. Next we're going to attach the bait. So I'll take my wafter, baiting needle goes through the bait, and then we use our bait floss, take off about 4 inches of that. That goes through the eye of the hook ring swivel and pull it up so that the 2 tag ends are level like that. And then we're using a gate latch type needle here, so like a splicing needle, and then we're just pulling that through the bait and pull the bait down onto that little swivel, just so the sort of barrel of the swivel is only just in the bait like that. And then we're going to use our windproof lighter, which is brilliant. Get one of these and you just blob down the end like that, a bit more, and then push it flush with the bait like that, so you can't really see that, and that is the bait attached. Now essentially that's the rig done. The only difference is so far is the position of the hook ring swivel on the shank and that blob of putty being in the middle, but the big difference that I like to do And I think the thing that makes this so much more effective is to just break the coating about an inch away from the hook, and you're just breaking it ever so slightly, so you've got about maybe 3 mil. Hopefully you can see there I've got a little bit of supple section, and what I'm going to do as well is rub that between my fingers just to loosen up the fibres a bit, and it just gives it that extra bit of movement. Right, so here's the two rigs side by side. I remember I said with the original one, this one here, that if the fish picks it up from this side, the hook can't really turn and get in its mouth. You know, it can't really sort of bend back that way and get into the fish's mouth because of the stiffness of this material. Well, we've got around that problem by having this break in the hook link material there. So if you see this one, when it's picked up, you can sort of bend back on itself and go in any direction that it wants to, and also the hook can spin around. So imagine the fish has sucked that bait in, and look where the hook's gone, straight back into the fish's mouth, facing the way you want. We've still got that stiff section near the hook, which gives it a bit of a kicker and helps the hook to sort of bed down into the carp's mouth, and helps the hook turn, I mean, you know. But it's so much more flexible than this original rig. The second point is the position of the bait. Now look at this one, when I pick it up, the hook is going up in the air every time, and that's not what you want. You know, you want the hook to be hanging down. So having the shank stop opposite the point, it allows the hook to drop. So if fish sucks it up and the hook is in that prone position instantly, ready to take hold in the bottom lip, and you're up in the percentage chance of hooking the fish. And the final point, the position of the putty, with this being here, the fish has actually got to pick up that putty off the bottom to get the bait in its mouth. And when you've got shy feeding fish, any resistance like that, and they'll just leave it. And if you watch underwater footage, you know, you see fish come in and they're very gently mouthing at baits, and if one is a bit different to all the rest and it hasn't got the same movement, and that bit of putty's holding it down, you know, they're just gonna leave it and mark it as dangerous. With this one, there's nothing stopping the bait coming up in the air, you know, and also you've got the buoyancy of the bait and the hook dropping down, and the putty being there. Also, because you've got a stiff section here and the putty sort of pinning it down there, that gives you that little sort of pull down on the rig. So once the fish has sucked it up and the supple section helps it get in the fish's mouth, it then has that sort of stiffer bit to sort of catch it in the fish's mouth there. So it does work really well. And on the palm test as well, as you can see, you know, it'll turn every time and catch hold. So it is a really, really good rig, and I think this version is about 100 times more effective than the original German rig. Right guys, so hopefully that was helpful for you, and hopefully you kind of understand the points that I'm making about the original German rig and how I think the mechanics aren't quite there. I know there's other versions like the turbo German rig, but I don't like having all that extra metal on there. I think it's just more weight for the fish to pick up and more for them to detect and see and feel on the bottom when they're picking up the baits. So my version, with the little break in the coating, the putty further back, and the position of the hook bait, I think just makes all the difference. And I'm sure if you put it into your fishing, it will help you put more fish on the bank. So if you've enjoyed the video, please remember to give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos coming soon. And if you've got any comments you'd like to leave about this version of the German rig, if you've got any thoughts on it, if you've got a different version, please share it with us in the comments below, because it's always interesting to hear other people's opinions on these things. I like to get a bit of discussion going around rigs. It's always really interesting to sort of talk to different people, and you never know, you might sort of pick up some different ideas that catch you the fish of a lifetime. So with that being said, guys, thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.